edition of Off the Front Porch, the weekly podcast exploring the Southern experience. My name is Tony Ballman, and each week I head out onto the back roads, highways, and downtown streets of the American South. My mission to locate and visit with a few of the colorful characters whose true life tales depict the joys and challenges of Southern life and living. Those things that make us laugh and cry and ponder and wonder and just be thankful God let us live down south. This episode is part 3 of our visit to the heart of South Carolina's stunning and historic Lowcountry, a place of breathtaking natural beauty with a complicated history that dates back to long before the United States of America was but a glimmer in the eye of a few disenchanted colonists who became revolutionaries and forged a new nation. We once again find ourselves in the second oldest city in South Carolina, Beaufort. Here we pause among the ancient oak trees dripping with Spanish moss, the acres of pluff mud on the salt marshes, and rows of stately old homes with their unmatched elegance and ghost of an old forgotten and simpler time. We stop here in Beaufort this week to remember the life and legacy of a literary favorite son of the South, and especially of the South Carolina Lowcountry. To millions, the titles of his books are instantly familiar, perhaps as much for the star-studded Hollywood adaptations as for the thousands of pages of gloriously composed text and the depictions of complex people in complicated situations set against the backdrop of this breathtaking Lowcountry where we sit today. You know the names: the Prince of Tides, the Great Santini, the Lords of Discipline, the Water is Wide, which in an earlier film adaptation was called Conrack. Yes, Tinseltown embraced several of the seminal works of Donald Patrick Conroy, or as fans of his unique brand of Southern American literature say, so often in hushed reverential tones, Pat Conroy. That's how I say the name. Here in the Palmetto State, we proudly claim him as arguably the greatest author of all time. And certainly the greatest to have made the Carolina coast almost a living, breathing character in his novels. For us South Carolinians, Pat Conroy is our William Faulkner. And when he passed away almost exactly a decade ago in March 2016, those of us who revered him felt the loss of someone perhaps we had never had the privilege to meet, but who felt like we'd lost a member of the family because we so loved the intimacy and raw authenticity of his writing. We felt thankful that at least we could hold his works in our hands anytime we wanted to and revisit them whenever we needed to be reminded of our uniquely Southern nature. Well, here in Beaufort, there is a place where the legacy of Pat Conroy is celebrated not just as a museum of artifacts and handwritten manuscripts under glass, but moreover as a living laboratory for the writing craft, an incubator for aspiring and established writers to hone their skills. It's called the PAT CONROY Literary Center, and a statement on the center's website perhaps says it best. We believe that writing has the power to bring meaning to our lives and change the world around us. The PAT CONROY Literary Center is a fitting tribute to Pat's legacy, creating a space where writers can support one another and share their stories. And so today, this old newspaper man, who now has found a late-life career as a teacher and a weekend podcaster, feels so very privileged to be here in this space, which feels almost spiritual, and blessed to be joined by the one person who arguably knew Pat Conroy best. A best-selling novelist in her own right and the author of a 2019 memoir entitled Tell Me a Story, My Life with Pat Conroy, which was released under the name Cassandra King Conroy. Well, my guest today on Off the Front Porch is author Cassandra King. Thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
That is no hyperbole. I sit here in this space today, and I do feel incredibly like I'm in a place of incredible spiritual strength and power. You can't argue with the setting here, right here, just a stone's throw from the water. But it is a place that imbues what so many of us who have revered Pat Conroy, it imbues that spirit. You have captured something special here.
I think so. We have so many visitors. And it's, when we started almost 10 years ago now, almost a year after Pat died, we started a nonprofit to create sort of a living legacy for Pat.
Mm-hmm.
There was discussion about what will we do to honor this, hometown hero. And several things were proposed. None of them sounded like anything Pat would not make fun of, like a statue of him in the park or something like this, a bridge named after him, a highway, whatever. But a group of us got together and decided that what would mean more to him was to carry on his legacy of teaching. And so that might cause pause, especially with you as a writer and a teacher, because Pat is certainly best known as a writer.
Mm-hmm.
But at heart, he was always a teacher. And one of the ways he showed that, I think, and others have confirmed as well, was through his support of other emerging writers.
Right.
I should know. I was one of those. I met Pat when my first book was coming out. And he was, at the height of his fame then, because it was right before Beach Music came out and after the, amazing success of Prince of Tides. So I would never have told him I was a beginning writer, and I've had other people, share the same experience, that when you're, you don't go up to somebody like Pat and say, well, you might think that you're a hotshot writer, but my first book is coming out. But he, that's all he wanted to talk, that he wanted to hear about him. And I saw him then through the years that we were together, almost 20 years afterward, do that with so many other writers. He really encouraged, he would help you any way he could. And so to have a place, an actual, center that where people, writers and readers, could come together and celebrate the literary arts, work on those folks who want to be writers, as all of us who now write have at one time or another. To be in a community of like-minded people. It makes so much difference. And so that was the catalyst behind PAT Conroy Literary Center.
And you have, in fact, programs that support the art of writing, that actually provide training classes of various things. Talk a little bit about the programmatic structure of the PAT Conroy Literary Center.
Yeah, that was one of our aims, of course. There are a few other writing centers, and one of our founders here, Marley Rustoff, who became Pat's agent, it was not at the time, but after his agent of so many years passed on, then Marley became his agent, and she had founded the Loft in Minneapolis, which is the largest writing center actually in the world. And it takes up about a city block.
Wow. And
so she had been there, done that, because none of us, I certainly wouldn't have known how to even start a nonprofit and a writing center and so forth. So we had this great leadership to, to say, well, we need to do this, we need to do that, and so forth. And it was more like we started out with author interviews and talks, a place that, a very small place, but that people could come and talk about books and reading, and then have programs, workshops, experienced writers who would come in and share, tips and so forth on how they got published. And one of the first things, I think we have been open about 2 years, when we had a writer's retreat and we had 12 people signed up. We couldn't take any more of that. We had it at the Anchorage downtown, a beautiful old inn, and it was a weekend, and we had some well-known writers there to read works in progress and to meet with the writers and to have workshops and so forth.
Was one of those well-known writers Cassandra King?
Yeah, well, yeah. Mary Alice Monroe, Patty Callahan Henry, and we had a top-notch agent, from New York, who came down to meet with some of the writers and so forth. And I don't think I can say 100% because I know a couple of people that I'm not sure about, but most people have since been published.
Yes.
That were in that retreat.
And that was important to Pat Conroy, wasn't it?
That
because
absolutely.
he actually was part of an imprint that was instrumental in creating opportunities for writers.
It's interesting, Tony, because as Pat, kind of, I don't want to say got toward the end of his career, of course, he did not know at that time, what none of us know, but such and such would be your last book or whatever. But he got very interested in publishing. He talked about and I think it was simply because of, not of course the Writing Center, we didn't have that then, but meeting aspiring young writers who had so much talent, but no place really to go with this, and unless not everybody gets a major contract with a New York press, and university presses are a good place to turn for that. So he did help start an imprint with University of South Carolina Press, and they published 22, I believe, correct, novels. Just wonderful. That won all sorts of awards and so forth. So that was something that Pat got involved with, I want to say about 3 years before his death.
Yeah.
So it was almost like the Pat Conroy Literary Center Part 1. And then but of course we don't do any publishing here. We want to help people get ready for publishing instead.
Right. Yeah. Well, and again, it's such an incredibly different place. It's not it is a museum, but it's not a museum. That's the thing, is it's yes, you can see artifacts here. Yeah. Yes, you can see the things under glass. There's some fascinating stuff here, but it really does feel like a living, breathing laboratory for the writing arts.
I'm so glad you said that, because that's really what we wanted it to feel like and be. Pat, I think he would have, if I could speak to him now and say, we started a museum for you, he would say, you better not have. Are you kidding me? So we didn't want that, but we did have some wonderful things that we wanted to share with his readers, and so we think of that as a part. Our initial director, Jonathan Haupt, referred to it as the center as more of an interpretive learning center. I think that's kind of the
and that's a great
what you call it now.
That's a great way of describing it, but at the same time, it has a practical purpose, and it has a legacy building purpose. I mean, yes, you could have a museum all day long that has things that Pat owned, things that Pat Conroy were related to his life, which is fairly well documented. I mean, it's no secret that the Great Santini was his father. Yes. And that complicated relationship, and then the things. I saw an interview with you one time that said that. And I can't remember the quote exactly, but a publisher said something about when are you going to start writing fiction? Yeah.
Oh no, I told Pat that.
Oh, you told, so it was you told Pat that. Okay, that's what it
Well,
was.
this came about when we were first together, and here on out we lived out on Fripp Island,
Right.
and he would show me. Well, this is where the white porpoise, and then walking on the beach. When a tornado comes, we had this guy, and he had just moved into the school from California, and I was Pat. That's Jordan in the Prince of Tides. Do you ever make anything up? You should consider writing fiction sometime.
And I think that's part of what those of us who love the writing of Pat Conroy, I think I said this in my introduction, that what makes it feel like we knew him, even if we didn't know him, is just the raw authenticity and just the honesty that he wrote with it. Yes, it might be autobiographical. Yes, it may skirt that line between fiction and nonfiction. But at the same time, I think that is one of the things that made him such a legendary writer.
Oh, absolutely, and so relatable. Mm-hmm. You read some of his kind of wild plots, and you think, no, that didn't happen to me. But do you have dysfunction in your family? Do you, just so much that we that all of us can relate to, and I mean, he has fan bases all over the world.
I didn't become a fan of Pat Conroy until I was in my early 30s. And I picked up a copy of Beach Music. And I read Beach Music. And I was like, whoa, this is, what is this, Greek tragedy? Is it Southern Gothic? What is this? But I was drawn into this giant book that you could hurt somebody if you hit them with it. Exactly. And I read Beach Music, and I was transfixed. And then the next one I picked up was Prince of Tides. And then I started reading more about Pat Conroy, about his history, and then next one was Lords of Discipline. And then I just okay, got it. Okay. And that was at that point, I was like, whoa. He is speaking the language of the South Carolina Lowcountry. And he's speaking the human language. And we all have crap that happens in our lives.
Exactly.
We all have got the junk. But he's so honest with it. And then he sets it right here. In a place that God himself painted with his fingertips.
Absolutely.
And it's like, wow, how could anything be more perfect? So again, no hyperbole when I said that for a South Carolinian, Pat Conroy is my William Faulkner.
Yes.
He's like, yeah, that's the guy I wish I had met. And you must hear that from so many fans of Pat Conroy that man, I just wish I'd had the opportunity to shake his hand and tell him how much I appreciated what he did with words, especially as somebody who loves words as much as I do.
Yeah, and that's I'm glad you brought that up, because that really was part of the idea behind the Literary Center. Is there's just a place that you could meet Pat Conroy, even though you never met him. And I've had people say, I never met Mr. Conroy. He was my favorite writer, but I felt his presence here, and we try to foster that. We got a lot of pictures. Well, for one thing, we've had a lot donated, to us, but I'd like to feel like that you can come here and know him more personally than of course, if I have almost caught myself saying than you do through his writing. But as I found out, if you know Pat's writing, you knew Pat, because it was just he was absolutely the funniest person I have ever known, and he had this dry sense of humor, and he was always these smart alecky comebacks and stuff like that, and his characters are just like that in his book. He's the hero. He's Will McLean, the Lord's Discipline.
Yeah.
You know, he's Tom Wingo, and you know, he's Jack McCall. He's the hero of each of his books.
And the hero of his life. And a hero to those of us who love words and love South Carolina. Yeah. And this, and just to sort of borrow something from the title of the podcast, in the short time that I have been here at the center, and I've just looked at some of the things that are here, it kind of does feel like, even though he is not here in the physical presence, it kind of does feel like you're sitting on the front porch with Pat Conroy here, just loving the South Carolina Lowcountry.
Yeah. I'm so glad to hear you say that.
It's a very comfortable place. It's kind of a sedate place. It's not one of these places where it's overwhelming from a technological standpoint, like a lot of quote unquote museums are.
Yes.
It feels like the type of place where readers, people who love words, people who just love the slow, lazy pace of the Lowcountry can just come here and go, yeah, this is what Pat Conroy feels like.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. And we have a spectacular view. And we have added, I guess within the last year, a very interesting little element to it. And I'm sure the docents can tell you more about it. But we have a witness tree out front.
A witness tree?
A witness tree park. And it's just a little spot. Park is kind of a grandiose word, but for what it really is. But we have some benches out there, and we've had presentations out under the witness tree. And it's a witness tree because we discovered that the tree in front of us is pictured with oh gosh, it's not. I don't think it's Massachusetts. I think I should have my facts, but I always want it to be. It's a black regiment during the Civil War.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
And I want it to be the one from Glory. But it was another. It was not. It was another regiment. So I think that the Glory was the Massachusetts. You know, and then this
was a Massachusetts.
This was a Connecticut.
Right.
I believe I'm right about that.
But nonetheless, I mean, it's part of that thread of the Lowcountry history that we.
Yes, it is. So to have that, and to have then we're on the Beaufort River. Well, we're kind of on the Beaufort River, but you can sit on our front porch and could cross a road, and then you'll see the Beaufort River. So
I was going to say, if it wasn't such a warm day today, I would have said let's go on the front porch and talk it out. But this is
a lot of people do.
This is an incredible place. And what would you say to folks who have never been here and who maybe are writers, maybe who are aspiring writers, maybe they've got that. Pat Conroy famously wrote his manuscripts in his own hand. Yes. And, they might have that book that's been in the bottom drawer of their desk or the bottom of their dresser, and they listen to this and they go, oh, I love Pat Conroy, and there's a literary center that promotes the art of writing. What would you say to writers who are thinking, yeah, maybe a trip to Beaufort might be something I want to do?
I would say do it because I think they would find a home here. Find certainly like-minded community. Come down for a weekend, catch some of our programs. One thing I wanted to be sure and hit on was our educational aspect, and you as an educator will appreciate this, and I hope that our future writers will as well, but we want to start them out young. And I'm a grandmother, and my grandkids don't read like my kids did. like I did.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and that's disturbing to me. So one thing we really want to do is foster a appreciation and interest in reading and writing for the younger kids. So we've started programs. I brought this for you to see later. And this is Pat's brother, Tim, who is a poet, published poet, and conducting one of our workshops in one of the elementary schools. So you don't have to come to us, we'll go to you.
So you basically, you're saying that this is something that promotes literacy, and it promotes it encourages students to embrace the comfortable art of reading.
Absolutely. Put those phones aside and pull out a book, and kids love. We have a Camp Conroy every year, and kids write their own books. We have a theme. I think last time my grandkids were here, it was trees, and they wrote stories about trees. And one time, this is great, because when I heard this, I thought, the theme was trash, because it was, the ecology, and don't litter and blah, blah, and this sort of stuff. Well, they wrote their little books about this, and then we publish them for them. And so it's just, it's a 2-week camp, writing camp, and the kids love it.
How could you not? I mean, that's and we do live with this. We with the 4-second or the 14-second attention span or whatever it is. I mean, if you took a beach music and you put it in front of a teenager right now, they'd go, "What is that?"
Absolutely.
It's like, what in the world are you giving me? That's a doorstop or whatever. Yeah, it's like, no.
Expect me to read that.
That's a world that you have got to open up. And I think that in the 21st century, we see that so much that kids, they've got this brain rot going on with technology and their phones and everything. As a teacher, that's why I still use the written textbook as much as I can.
Yeah.
Because I want them to have to read those words on a page. I want them to have to kind of glean meaning from it. And I want them to see pictures of places they've never been. And I want them to imagine the stories that are happening in those places. And so we do a lot of writing, and I teach social studies, and we write in my class.
Good for you.
Because I believe that is an art form that we have to preserve.
Got to. I agree.
And this is a place where the written word is sacred.
Absolutely.
And I feel that. I feel that as a writer, as a communicator, as someone who had never before stepped foot in this place before a half hour ago. And now it's like, this is a place I will come back to again and again and again. Because when I walked through that door, I was like, wow, this is South Carolina.
It is.
This is the written word. This is Pat Conroy.
That's exactly what we hope you get out of the experience.
Cassandra King, wow, our time is almost up. But may I come back and visit with you? We didn't get a chance to talk about what you're working on. You have an incredible catalog of what I like to call cozy beach reads, and so because we went the Same Sweet Girls, and the one that was your defining novel, which was
Sunday Wife.
Yes, Sunday Wife. That's right. Which was that's another raw, authentic book. And I think that may have been part of the thing that attracted a Pat Conroy to a Cassandra King.
Could be.
We won't get into the romance so much. If people want to learn about the romance of this incredible romance of people who love words, go read Tell Me a Story, My Life with Pat Conroy. Cassandra King, thank you so very much for having me here at the Pat Conroy Literary Center. It is right here, a stone's throw from the water in downtown Beaufort. Place, I don't know, maybe maybe I need to find me a job in Beaufort County Schools and just come live down here. But so teach down here. Maybe I'll be the next maybe I'll be the next Conrack.
There you go.
Anyway, well, thank you so very much. I want to invite you to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and of course, if you'd like to watch the video of this, and I'm going to have some footage, just some inside shots of some of the things here that you can see at the PAT CONROY Literary Center. Be sure to check us out on our YouTube channel. I'm Tony Ballman. Thanks for listening to this edition of Off the Front Porch. We'll see you out on the highways real soon.